Hey everyone, I am just going to do a very short introduction to this 5th week of reading vlogs for September and my Stacking the Series challenge, which is my main focus for September. I have read a lot of the books already. I just need to read 2 more, one of which is to finish off a very short introduction to Shakespeare. I'm doing very well with this. I am on page 112 of about 142 or 50 if you read the bibliography and further reading, which I probably will actually read the further reading, but this is small print. It's a small book, but it's small print. So that is one of my goals for this week, or this 5 days left of September. And I also want to read Sun by Lois Lowry, which is the 4th book in the Giver Quartet. Yeah, and that'll finish off 2 stacks, which will mean I will have finished 3 stacks. Yeah, 3 stacks this month, which was the goal. I also want to make decisions on 2 series, the NUMA Files by Clive Cussler and the Boston Fire series by Shannon and Stacey. The NUMA Files is an adventure series. Boston Fire series is a contemporary romance. These are both genres that I don't read a lot from, which lets me know that maybe it wasn't the smartest to put it on my Stacking the Series. So I just want to, I don't think I'm going to finish them by the end of the year. So my decision is about, am I going to finish the series or continue the series at all? Or am I going to DNF it? And if I am going to continue the series, do I want to try and finish off any of the books this year? Or am I just gonna leave it as it stands and work on it at some other time? So that's where we stand as this 5th vlog starts. And yeah, 5 days left. Fall TV is back. That is definitely taking some of my time. Which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, and in terms of my TBR, those are my Stacking the Series goals. I also want to, for my regular TBR, the final book that I'm working on is Alanna the First Adventure. I'm about halfway through this, and I hope to finish it actually today. So if I do finish it today, maybe I will come back with more thoughts tomorrow. So that's where things stand as this final vlog for September starts. Here we take a look at the chart. So you can see I am almost done. Only have a few things to cross off. Let's hope I get to all of them by the end of the month. Of course, I thought I would mention my knitting because I have been doing some knitting throughout September. And currently where I stand, my knitting's actually not out. All my books are out. My knitting is not out, but I haven't finished the first cuff of the first sleeve. So that's where I am right now. So the first step will be to finish that, try it on, decide on the length of that, and then I just have to do the second sleeve and figure out how to do the collar, which I've never done before. So that's going to be a challenge, but I really hope I finish the first cuff soon because doing the sleeve is like just in the round. You have to reduce it, but it's pretty not that much, brain power. So it would be good to do that, especially since I'm watching tons of TV. So getting that in order would be good. Although I'm reading Shakespeare, a very short introduction to Shakespeare in the commercials, so maybe that's first. That's more important. And then sweater. So Shakespeare, then sweater.
Hello?
Oh, sorry. Your work gave you this as your office address.
Oh, yeah, it's my home address, too.
In the end, it really doesn't matter how many challenges you've won, except for the last one, right? There we go.
Okay, so it is now Saturday, day 28th of the month, the 28th, yeah, and I don't think I did any updates yesterday, so where are we? I thought I'd be finished Alanna by now. I am not. I have about 20 pages left. I'll get that done, and I will get that done early today. I have made a start on Sun by Lois Lowry, which is the 4th in the Giver Quartet. It is a very different focus than I thought, different setting, different protagonist, very clear, I think, from the get-go of that it's potentially another messagey one, but also very clear that we as the reader know that the situation isn't great, I think. So anyway, fourth in a series, can't really talk about it. I will do a separate review, but so far I'm just very surprised at the focus, and I feel like it's like one of those ones where you can't really have any I don't know. I was gonna say you can't really have an argument. No, there isn't so much of an argument for that. What happened is, where the moral line is. I don't know. I don't know. Is that what these books are about? That's kind of what I feel like, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'm misjudging. I'm not sure. Anyway, for today, I do want to actually I want to check and see if it is the Create Your Own Readathon weekend, because I think it is. I think it got rescheduled from an earlier weekend to this weekend. And if it is, I think I'm going to try and finish my TBR this weekend. I know we have Monday, the month goes to Monday, but I thought if I use the Create Your Own Readathon as inspiration to finish my TBR, that would be awesome, because I'm focusing on the Stacking series, which is hosted by Sarah, who hosts the Create Your Own Readathon, and it just felt like it would be really nice to put all that together. And if that's the case, then I want to finish the last 20 pages of a very short introduction to Shakespeare. It would also mean finishing Son, which is 300 pages, and I have read 29, so that's a bit ambitious, but it does read pretty quickly. I think if I just space out the times that I read it, which I know I've mentioned in a lot of vlogs, but I haven't always gotten to it, but my weekend is pretty open, so I think I could probably do it. Mostly what I want to do is check and see what, like, the other stuff that I want to work on is like it can be done at any time, so I think I could, read a bit and then look and see what's on TV next week, and then read a bit and then catch up on some of the shows that I missed over the week, and sort of just go back and forth that way. I do have another set of things I need to do, but it's somewhere else, so I don't know where it is. So I'm going to check and see if that is the case, and then I will be right back. Okay, so here we are on Goodreads, communities, groups. Create and readathon. Ah, and there it is. Yes. Oops, I had it. September 28th to 29th. So, and here is the post from Sarah. So I am going to write and make my goals and read what other people's goals are. Woo, looks, lots of people, lots of people. All right, let's do it. Okay, so I have posted in the group, and I am going to go with my goals of finishing A Very Short Introduction to Shakespeare, finishing Son by Lois Lowry, finishing Alanna, the First Adventure, which is like 20 pages left, and I also put to finish the Once in Future, which is a comic. It's like a 30-page comic. I shouldn't have any problems with that. And I also have one of my goals always for the Create Your Own Readathon, whenever it happens, is to finish any romance. Usually any romance I'm in the middle of, and I'm in the middle of probably like 6, but a bunch are on my October TBR, so I think with this I would have to either finish The Accidental Countess, which I still have actually like 200 pages left, so that would be a lot, or Dime Store Magic, which I have about 175 pages, and actually technically isn't a romance, but because everyone talks about that series as paranormal romance, I would count it. But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, I'm gonna frame my weekend around doing the Create Your Own Readathon and work towards those as my goals. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I love participating in the Create Your Own Readathon weekend, and it's nice that it's at the end of the month, and then it would match my my Stacking the Series TBR. And oh, I would also like to, I didn't put this in the post because it's a little like it's not a book, but I would like to make my decisions about Boston Fire and the NUMA files, and I suspect that I know what I'll do, but I think if I finished those books by the weekend and made those 2 decisions, technically I would be done my TBR, because I didn't make it to The Ship Who Sang. That's the one book I didn't get to, but if I can cross off everything else by Sunday, and today Sunday, that would feel great. And I might even watch The Giver. I noticed it's on, actually both The Giver and How to Train Your Dragon are both on Netflix here in Canada, so I might, if I get stuff done early, I might watch one of them, because that would be a lot of fun. So I didn't realize they were both book to film adaptations. The Giver just has the first movie. They didn't do all of the movies. But I actually really enjoyed the movie. I really did. I know it wasn't a huge success at the time, but you know, sometimes that happens. Anyway, so that is my plan. Create Your Own Readathon weekend begins now. Okay, updated tracking, so I have a lot of Sun left to read. That is it. Wow. 273 pages. That's a lot. And then Alanna, I am almost done, so that won't be too bad. There is Once in Future. And the Accidental Countess, I could pick that, or I could pick Dime Store Magic, so, and I don't, because this is an ebook, it was hard to determine how many pages it is, so I don't have a page count. Harlequins are usually 288 for historicals, so I'm assuming that's what it will be. And yeah, and there is, wow, see, the last week has been much quieter. So today, hopefully today and tomorrow, I'll get lots read. Okay, so I created a little Create Your Own Readathon checklist here. So these are the things I have committed to do. 100%, this is what I want to do for Create Your Own Readathon. And then these are optional. So one of the things, because I want one thing to be any romance, I did list out the 3 I'm currently reading with the chapters left. That looks like a lot of chapters. I don't think I'm going to finish any of those, but it's not impossible. I don't know. The top 2 are both stacking the series, so that would be best, but any will count. And then I have some bonus here. Velvet Volume 3 is a graphic novel, and it completes a series. And then some film options. I'd love to watch. The CBC has a version of Macbeth that was at Stratford available, and on their app here in Canada, and then The Giver or How to Train Your Dragon. Those are pretty much one of. Yeah, and so there you go. So that's the main one. I didn't do the pages for the top 2, or the chapters for the top 2. So yeah, so wish me luck. There be the books. 20 pages and lots and some. I'm also listening to Hunger, but I don't think I will finish it this weekend. Although 3 hours, that's possible. It's so good. It's a tough one, but it's really good. Really, it's a memoir by Roxane Gay, so. But my audiobook, I don't put too many parameters on finishing audiobooks. I just finish them when I finish them, because my reading of them fits in whenever I can. So, but for this weekend, Shakespeare, Sun, Alanna. Whoops, I pressed something. Whoops. First up, let's read some Shakespeare. Page 122. Sociology. I don't normally say stuff like this, but some of this, like, I shouldn't super be surprised after I've read several of these now, but man, this has some fancy words. This is the beginning of the further reading section. 2 studies, both published in the same year, may help to elucidate the rather complex argument adumbrated in these pages. So, I don't know what either of those mean, so I imagine the sentence is something like, may help clarify the rather complex argument showcased in these pages. And I'm sure I'm pronouncing those words wrong. Anyway, I got to the further reading, so I have a couple more pages, but this series is, if you're looking for new words, it's a good one to read, at least for me. So. And wow, this is a really strong opinion on like current day Shakespeare productions. It says, it's talking about something else, but this is what it says about them. The answer is simply not to attend performances of the plays, which nowadays are highly quote-unquote interpretive, full of distracting stage business and elaborate and irrelevant characterization. Irrelevant characterization. So that the language is difficult to hear and to follow. but to read the play in groups. So they're saying the best thing to do is to read the play in groups, but still it's like, I don't think I'm gonna get over that. Like, oh my god, full of distracting stage business. See? One of the joys of Shakespeare is that it's interpretive. And I'm not saying that, you know, what goes on visually should be more interesting than what you hear, but you know, it's an interesting argument, and I've heard people argue many different ways about Shakespeare, especially if you should read first or watch a production first, or do both, or how you do both, and all of those things. And I always, to my personal opinion, is that you should try a bunch of stuff and see what works best for you. I like to read first and then watch, but it's like they were performed. They were performed. It's not like people were handing out scripts or something like that. That's initially how people saw them, was through the performances. So I understand the argument of seeing them first. It makes a lot of sense. So I was just like, elaborate and irrelevant characterization. I don't think I'm ever gonna get over that. Anyway, I'm a couple. So I am done. I finished off. I got cut off on my last clip, but I finished off Shakespeare. A very short introduction. I actually did enjoy the further reading section as much as I was laughing about some of the things, but it was sort of like having like someone, you know, talk you through a bibliography, and I think that that is really helpful. So I did enjoy that. I also liked the last section on sociology. It was mostly about marriage and relationships, which I wouldn't have thought of in terms of sociology, but you know, it is social. So that was really good. So I am really happy that I chose this as my last one for the stack for my very short introductions. This year I chose to do 8 as a way to get some nonfiction in the mix. And although it was a really rocky road, and when I chose books that were on topics I didn't know much about, it was hard and it was not very accessible. So that's the big learning for me, was I don't actually find these very accessible. But when I switched over to reading ones on subjects I was interested in or had a pretty strong centered, you know, amount of information on, and I did finish all of Shakespeare last year, all of the plays of Shakespeare last year. So I knew a lot of the references, but I don't know a lot behind it. So this is actually a really good pick, but it was still a challenging read. These are very academic. They're like, I could go through this, and if I was looking for new words to define, which, you know, is actually one of the things on my 101 is going to be about words, new to me words, but this would be a great place in terms of finding new words. Are they words that I'm going to be using in the future? I don't know. Oops. I forgot to turn off notifications again. Anyway, so I'm really glad that I finished this. That's one more stack done, one more stacking the series goal for my chart and for the year and for the month and all of those things. So that feels really good. So I'm going to switch gears and try and finish off Alanna, and then I need to do some other stuff, but I only have 20 pages of that left, so I'm going to work on that now. And here we go. And one more book done with Alanna, the First Adventure. I would show you, but I'm reading it online and I just lost internet, so perfect timing to finish, because otherwise it would have been at like the last page and like turned and like nothing. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I feel like I wish there was a couple things that were a little confusing in one of the scenes that I just read, and then there was something that I felt like, oh gosh, like I took a couple of days off in between reading it, and there was something I'm like, oh wow, I feel like I should remember a reference that they're talking about. Like there was some energy around a particular thing, and I was like, and there were more characters with the same first letters. That it was more intentional, and I understood why they did it. But and I, you know, and thank you to everyone who said, yeah, that's annoying. Why do people do that? So yay. But I loved Alanna, the First Adventure. I'm very much looking forward to hearing what other people have to say about it. And continuing the series. So thank you to Anita for hosting the read along, because I've wanted to read this book for quite some time. So it was really nice to finally read it. A great YA fantasy series with a very strong female protagonist, a young, strong female protagonist, and really enjoyed it. Lots of adventure, and interesting. The gender dynamics is definitely something that is a discussion piece for this one for sure, because she pretends to be a boy, and that comes up again and again. So thinking of, I'll be curious to hear what people's perspective on that is. And also, in terms of there's both fighting, swordsmanship and stuff, as well as magic and people who do both or one or the other, which is interesting too, because often in fantasy it gets really splintered out. But she has the ability to do both, but she likes to fight, like do swordsmanship more, or swords. Oh, it shouldn't be swordsmanship. It should be a different word. Let's just go with fighting. Anyway, really, really, really enjoyed it, and need to think more on it in terms of what star rating I would give it. I think I'm probably edging on a 4. It's almost a 5, but I have to think about some of the challenging things about it. But it is from a while ago. I thought it was written in the 90s, but it might have been the 80s. So, and I want to so anyway, so I'm really, really happy. So that's 2 titles down already. I'm going to switch gears and check see what's on TV this week, because if fall premieres are continuing, and we only had the first round of things, and so now more stuff is going to be on, so there's going to be more time conflicts, so I'm going to have to make some tough decisions on what I will be watching, and but that's what I'm going to switch gears to, and then I will come back and read something. I probably should read some of Sun, but I don't want to right now. I want to switch gears, so I'm going to do that instead. So I forgot yet again that it does take a fair amount of time to look up what's on TV, especially when it is still newish. Although there wasn't too much new stuff this week. There's a new show called Almost Family that's a reprisal of an Australian series, or a redux or remake, or remake. It's the same story as an Australian series, which I can't remember the title of that series. Oh, Sisters. I think it's called Sisters. And so I might check that out. And I think the showrunner here, or North America is, or the States, is getting all the words wrong. The creator of Parenthood. So it's like a drama, family-ish drama, almost family. So I might check that one out. I think it's on at a time when nothing else is on. Yes, it is. So I will give that a shot. It is on Wednesdays at 9 on CTV here in Canada, or also Fox. Fair amount of what I'm watching this season is on Fox, which is a bit surprising to me. But the majority of the shows I tend to watch are on the CW, and they don't come back till next week. So we shall see what makes the cut from week 1 to week 2, and then week 2 to CW. We shall see. But yeah, and then there's some stuff that comes back that I might jump into the current season. I might jump into the second season of The Rookie. I didn't watch it last year, even though I wanted to. It stars, oh my gosh, the actor's name, just Nathan Fillion? Yeah, he played Mal on Firefly. He was also in, oh wow, yeah, he played an author on a procedural type show for many years. I never watched that one, but I love Firefly because we all love Firefly, right? But anyway, last year The Rookie was on a time where there was a time conflict, but this year they've moved it to Sunday night. So I might check it out, jump into season 2. I definitely know enough people that are watching it that I can ask for clarification. Or sometimes I like the mystery of trying to figure things out, and so sometimes I do jump into a further season. So I might do that. This one would be really odd. I might check out NCIS LA, because it's on at a time slot where I don't have anything. So I don't know. I think I don't tend to watch the NCISs, but out of the ones I have seen little bits of over the years, I think that's the one that I liked. I don't know. So I might try that tomorrow night as well. Or I might choose to not watch stuff on Sundays and watch movies instead. Or there's a whole bunch of Shakespeare productions on the CBC app from Stratford productions of Shakespeare plays. And so I might do Shakespeare's on Sunday. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. So I might do that. I don't know. Or I might check those out this week and see if either of them stick. And if they don't, watch Shakespeare next week. So yeah, so that took a lot of time, and also now I need to eat and lunch, and I'm just this happens to me sometimes. I'm just like, I just don't feel like reading, which isn't good because I have a lot of pages I want to get to. So I don't know what I'm going to do, if I am going to switch gears and watch some TV. I definitely need to catch up on New Amsterdam. I'd like to do some knitting. I want to have some lunch. So I am really worried that I'm not going to hit any of my goals this weekend, but technically I do have till the end of the 30th, but I would really love to hit my monthly goals by the end of Sunday. But apparently it would actually have to be Sunday by 9 because that's when I'm going to start to watch some TV. So we shall see how things go. But I think for today, New Amsterdam Sweater. And also I finished 2 books. I didn't have tons of pages left, but I did finish 2 books, so that feels good. Maybe I'll read Once in Future because that's like 30 pages and a comic, so that would be 3 finishes. That's not what I should do. What I should do is read a huge chunk of Sun so that I feel like tomorrow I don't have to read 300 pages. That's what I should do. That's not necessarily what I am going to do. We shall see what happens. One other thing I noticed when I looked up what was on TV is that it is the Rugby World Cup. I feel so bad Canada's playing New Zealand Wednesday morning. By the time this goes up, the game will be over, but like, you know, I am very patriotic, but New Zealand is, you know, they're just pretty much known for being the best at rugby. Anyway, I probably won't get a chance to see any of the games, but oh, I love that sport so, so very much. So I'm going to see if I can sneak that in because obviously I am not doing enough. Wow, where's that light coming from? Where's that light coming from? Isn't that weird? Huh. Oh, it's probably my Fitbit. Anyway, rugby. So I just tried on my sweater and I think I'm very, very close. So that is where it ends up. And if I roll it back, it ends up being here. Although that is a fair amount of my wrist exposed. But I'm also very likely to roll it back and pull it up like that. And that feels very comfortable. So I feel like I should add maybe like 5 more rows and try it again, just because there is some wiggle room for it being a bit longer. I don't want to go too much longer than it is, because if I go too much longer than it is, like, let's straighten that out. If I go too much longer than it is, then my thumb would be covered. But even if I shift there, yeah, I think I want it to go just sort of here on my thumb. But overall, I think it turned out really well. I think the reducing ended up being quite nice. There is a bit of a spot where it's not reduced as much, but that's because of my arms. My arms aren't like, it needs to be wider for a bit longer and then reduce. So that's why it looks like that, is because that's what my arm needs. So overall, I think it's pretty good. So I think I'll try maybe 5 more rows, try it on again. But maximum I would do would be 10 more rows. Then I can bind it off and pick up the second sleeve, which would be awesome. I would still love to finish this in time to sort of like enjoy it for the season. And I still have to figure out how to do figure out how to do the collar. I have no idea. That will be a completely new thing. So let's stick with sleeves, which I know how to do. And hopefully I can probably finish this part today. That would be great. That would be great. So I did 5 more rows on my sweater and it feels like it is the perfect length. That is folded over at the cuff, and let's see if I can do this one-handed. And that, whoa! Almost had a knitting needle to the eye. And that is not folded over, which is enough for me to grab it, which I do that. I don't know why. When I put my jacket on so that my sleeves don't hike all the way up to my elbows. So anyway, so it's long enough for me to grab it. It's not so long that my hand isn't in it, but I can roll it over and it goes right to my wrist. So that's perfect. 5 more rows. That was perfect. I'm going to cast it off and then pick up the stitches from the other arm. I might actually get this done. My sleeve is complete and I am very, very happy. Although it's weird, the edge of it seems to be very close to wanting to unravel. I've never had that before. Usually I find I make it end up being like a little bit of a knot, and then it's too tight, and this is too loose. So I'll make it into a something between loose and tight until I can actually weave in the ends later. So, but anyway, super, super happy. Where the rib happened, oh, that's a pretty good angle, isn't at a great spot. So live and learn. But with it being a black sweater, it doesn't matter because you can't really see. But I'm so happy with the length, rolling it down, rolling it up, all works perfectly. So now I just have to find my notes on how many stitches I picked up and how many rows I did without decreasing, because that is not in my current book. See, I'm usually very, very careful to keep all of that stuff together, but I think that I was using a clipboard and it was a bit unwieldy, so yeah. But I gotta keep all of this stuff together because if this pattern works, it's a really good pattern, and so far so good. So I want to make sure I have all of the rows right. So yay! Have a cuff. I have a cuff.
I just really like this one, and it reminded me of like those great coming of age movies that I grew up with in the, in the 90s. Films from the 80s and 90s. Memorable as those films, but it has kind of dashings of that feeling of boys growing up, and I really enjoyed that. And I think that it was a very good, for me, debut from Ogigami as a feature film director. My number 3, and this one's really tough.
Starting with number 8. Number 8 is this one, which is Hoshinoku Menoku. This was the earlier work. This is a short work by Ogigami. Which one you want to talk about? Again, I apologize if among these 5 you still cannot find a film that is to your liking. I sincerely apologize.
Okay, welcome to day 29. I can't believe we are this close to the end of the month. I'm actually feeling really good about where things are and where they're going and how close I am to the end of my TBR. I never am this close to finishing my entire TBR. So vlogging really helped, and also picking a smaller TBR helped. And I don't know what else helped. I will think about that when I do my wrap up and reflection. But I will admit that it wasn't necessarily the most enjoyable way for me to read, because I felt like a lot of times I had to say no to things and had to, like, it's like shiny new, and couldn't do it. So, but before not harping on that, let's stick with the yeehaws. And because I did have 3 finishes yesterday. I've already talked about Shakespeare, very short introduction. Very happy to finish this. This finishes my stack for the very short introduction books for stacking the series, and I'm really glad I had a lot of context for that because it talked really in depth about a lot of the different themes or issues, and I enjoyed it. But it was brainy things. Brainy thinking, yeah, which is what I've come to notice about that series generally. I also finished Alanna, the First Adventure. I think I talked about this one too. I really enjoyed it. It will likely make my favorites of the month. But I did find out from reading some of the Goodreads reviews that this book in particular is actually middle grade as opposed to YA. Alex Black, I think, mentioned that in her review on Goodreads. She said that this title is middle grade, but the series is YA. So I've been calling it a YA title, but apparently it's middle grade, which I can sort of see. It's very accessible. It doesn't make too much difference to me in terms of like what I choose to read, but it does help to know in terms of who the target audience is, in terms of how it's received. So that was interesting to find out. I'm looking forward to reading on in that series. I think we will be. I'm going to check. Anita did put up her October TBR, so I will watch that to see if she indicates that, because I think that's the plan, is a book a month. So yeah, and Alanna was great. It was great, and it's on some of my other lists too. So I'm gonna have lots of tick boxes for it. So that's super awesome. I also did finish Once and Future. This is a comic by Boom Studios, and it was written by Kieron Gillen. It is a modern day action adventure urban fantasy potentially, and has obviously an Arthurian, because once and future sense, and it follows a guy and his grandmother, and then people who want, the sword. So yeah, I loved it. I loved it. And I'm now, it's weird because I don't usually read comics, especially not in your comics. So this is just like 34 pages and the next issue is not out yet. And I'm like, but I want to know what happens. So it's like usually when I read stuff, it's in graphic novels. So it's like 4 or 5 comics together and potentially a complete story. But this is really like an introduction to the story. So I'm like, I want more. So I'm really excited about that. And I'll have to keep my eye out on Hoopla and stuff to see if the second issue goes live. I did also continue reading Sun by Lois Lowry. This is my last TBR book, and I really hope to finish it hopefully today or at the very least tomorrow. I've read 100 of 300 pages. I started to get a sense of where it was going. It was very different. It's very different than I expected. But then I was like, oh, are we going here? Oh. Like, so now I get a sense of sort of the setting and stuff like that, and potentially the message, but it's a little early to see. It does use a couple of like devices that I can be not a huge fan of. It depends on how they use them. And overall, it'll like this one really will weigh a lot on the series because hopefully because I think it will make it clear. Hopefully it'll make clear some of the messages that it's giving, because I felt like the message from The Giver was very clear, and I felt like the message from Gathering Blue and Messenger were less clear. And I don't know if that's because I don't have the context, or if you need to read the whole series, or if it's a message I'm unfamiliar with, or of course potentially that it's not a message. So I don't, but the first one was, I thought was very clear, very direct. What it was saying was important. So yeah, so I will have to see about that. It is broken into 3 parts, so I'm going to try and read part 2 during the day and then read part 3 at night, and then hopefully finish it tonight, because Mondays tend to be a bit busy for me. So I will be able to finish it tomorrow, but I would rather finish it today, especially since I decided to do the Create Your Own Readathon and I put it on my goals. So yeah, so that's mostly what I read, and let's just take a quick look at the reading tracking because it's actually going quite well. So these are my TBR books. So you can see the only thing left here is the pages for Sun. I've even made all of my decisions for Women of the Otherworld and Boston Fire and the NUMA Files. I made all of those decisions. And then this is my non-TBR books, which is for me an extraordinarily small number of titles. And then that's how the days are going. So it was a much quieter week last week, lots less pages read. And then yesterday it bumped up a bit. And got 3 finishes in. Yeah, so my decisions for the NUMA Files and the other stuff, should I say that now? I think I already mentioned that Women of the Otherworld, I have decided that I will go ahead with the series, but I'm not going to worry about it for stacking the series. I will read it at my own pace, and I think I'm going to keep it as a secret read. Maybe I'll talk about that later when I wrap everything up, because I have a couple days that I might change my mind about stuff. I would like to finish, I am reading Dime Store Magic, and I would like to finish it this month, but I'm going to consider 3 out of 10 for that stack as complete. I'm not going to push myself to read any more of the titles this year. So yeah, and I'll share the rest when I wrap up maybe the vlog and after the month is done, because I could change my mind in the next 2 days, but I don't think so. But anyway, on tap for today, I am going to finish Sun. That's really the big one. I also would like to finish Velvet, which is a graphic novel. I am reading volume 3, which is the 3rd novel, or the 3rd in the series, and that would finish a series. One more series this month. So Velvet, The Man Who Stole the World. This is written by Ed Brubaker, and it is an espionage action adventure with a female protagonist, and I really like it. I've liked each of the volumes, so I think I will enjoy this one as well. It's only 100 pages left to read of that, and for a graphic novel that should be no problem. So those are the 2 super important ones to read today. I might set up my October tracking because it's right today is Sunday, so I have more time on Sunday. I did catch up on a bunch of TV yesterday. The Voice and New Amsterdam. I didn't totally catch up on New Amsterdam. I do have to watch 2 more episodes today, and it's hard to watch more than 1 episode of that show because the feels, oh my goodness, the feels that show has. But I want to catch up so I can watch it live on Tuesday night when it comes back for its 2nd for this season. I did work on my sweater. Maybe I will show how that's going. I did finished the cuff. I mentioned that probably several times, and I cast on the second sleeve, so it's looking good. And that's good actually for me because I have a bunch of TV to watch, and I would love to watch Macbeth tonight, but there's some other shows I might watch. So not other shows in addition to, because Macbeth's not a show, it's a play. So and then I gotta get reading because I gotta get to the day today. So I have now finished part 2 of Sun. Again, this book keeps on surprising me. I don't know how I feel about it. Again, I'll probably need to read it as a whole, think of the series as a whole. I will do an individual review, all that jazz, but there were definitely things I liked about it, and there were other things that I was concerned about, and I sort of see where things are going now. I'm into the final stretch. It took me an hour and a half to read that second part of 100 pages, which I am very surprised at. I was slightly distracted, checking my phone here and there for things to check in and chat with family a little bit, but and maybe post on Instagram, maybe. But not, I didn't get totally sucked into that. But don't want to rush through it, but it's the final push, so I want to be done. And I realized I was going to leave it to tonight, but then I realized there's something I want to watch at 9, something I want to watch at 10, and 3 hours of other stuff that I want to catch up on. So I think I am just going to tuck in, make a tea, and just finish it, because then I will know I'm done. Then I know if I read anything else tonight, it's like bonus, and also if I read anything else tonight and I fall asleep, it's okay, because I have an early morning tomorrow, so I can't get morning reading in. So for me to finish it today, the safest bet is to tuck in and to read it now. I did take a little bit of a lunch break and read something else. I can't remember what it was called, like Draw Your Day or something like that. I have been waiting. I've had that on hold at the library. I put a hold on it in May. That is a really, really long hold. I think they probably only have one electronic copy. Anyway, but now I'm reading it. I'm enjoying it. It's not that long. Just on my lunch, I read like 2 chapters or something like that. And I got through like 12 to 20%. So I might fly through it. And if I do, I'll make sure to return it right away so that other people can enjoy it, because it was a really long wait. So anyway, yeah, I think tea, and then the third part of Sun, the final stretch, the final Stacking the Series book for the month. Wow, it feels a bit weird. Sometimes when you finish something, it doesn't always feel like, jump for joy, but I don't know how I'm gonna feel, and I'm probably an hour and a half away till I know for sure. So it's been quite a month. So thank you for sticking with me, especially anyone who has watched all the vlogs or jumped in here. That's totally cool. It has been quite the experience. And I don't think I've ever read a whole series this quickly, like a whole series in 4 months, even if it was like a young adult title. Maybe, probably. Maybe not a whole series. Anyway, tea, and then part 3 of Sun. Part 3. So close. Well, not actually, 66. Huh, interesting. And done. So, finished Sun. Wow, it just totally lights out. Finished. It got me. I should have known that. Still have to think about it and process it and all of that stuff. And yeah, it made my makeup run. And do you want to look up some things about it? It's got a discussion guide at the back, which is interesting, although it's interesting to see what's focused on in terms of discussion for this one. It's not done by the author, though. It's done by someone else. So yeah, anyway, I'm glad I read it. I'm really happy that I finished a series in 1 month. But I have to process my thoughts on it. So it's complicated, but I have to think about it before I say stuff, but I am glad that I finished it, and it's not even too late, so I can get some TV and maybe even finish Velvet, but I think I feel good at where I'm at. That's the 9 books from my Stacking the Series, TBR, 2 out of the 3 for the rest of my TBR, and all 3 decisions made. So that is 11 out of 12 books and 3 out of 3 decisions. I think I can take the next 2 days off, or the next day off. But yeah, so I'm gonna process my thoughts, relax a bit, do some knitting. But I'm feeling pretty accomplished and happy. Although that book got me, it got me. So yeah. All right, we did it. Oh, apparently I'm supposed to do something. What timing?
And I can't do that from the DA's office. You're breaking up the band. All right, fine. Just this once, you can have one of my coffees. Really? Stop talking. $50.
Well, welcome to October. We made it through the month, and I made it through my TBR, mostly. There was one title I didn't finish, but I made it through my Stacking the Series. And one of the things, my 9 books for Stacking the Series, and I actually did get a bonus book because I did finish Dime Store Magic by Kelley Armstrong in the very early hours. I decided to push through and finish that as well. So I ended up finishing 10 books for my Stacking the Series. And one of the challenges or rewards I set out for myself is that if I did finish my Stacking the Series goals, that I could take this copy of Stolen, which I read in August, July and August, I think. I could take this copy and go to a little free library and exchange it for a book. So I am going to do that today, and I'm really excited about it. And the alternate was, if I didn't finish all my TBR books, is that I would simply donate it. So yeah, so I am going to head to the little free library today, trade in Stolen, and see what I can find as my reward for finishing all of my Stacking the Series books for this month. I think the month went really well. It was very dedicated and very intense, but I made it through a lot of books and a lot of pages, and hit a lot of the goals. So now I shall reap the benefits of the work, which thematically, given the time of year, that makes sense because it's now fall, and that's one of the things we do one final time for the year with the fall equinox. So anyway, time to head out. Let's go on an adventure. It's actually really warm out for October 1st. It's like 24, feels like 27. And later it's supposed to go up to 29, feels like 37. And thunderstorm. So yeah, glad I'm missing that. Okay, time to take a look. Okay, guess what I'm gonna pick. Okay, so I am back and I have made my selection, and I did go with Speak Daggers to Her by Rosemary Edgehill. This is the first in the series. It says a Bast mystery. And let's read the back, shall we? Kieron Hightower, aka Bast, is a single white witch living in Manhattan, working as a freelance graphic designer while reading tarot cards on the side. But when a close friend dies mysteriously, Bast must turn detective to find out why. Bast's investigation leads her through the cults and covens of New York's occult underground in search of a killer who may have black magic on their side. The beginning of a bewitching new series. And this has a blurb on the front by Marion Zimmer Bradley, which I'm sure at the time, this actually came out in 94. I thought it was earlier, but it's 94. And at the time, that totally would have been a draw. Now, of course, it's cringy. And if you don't know the reason why, you can look it up. I don't want to get into the details. But yeah, so, and this is put out, published by Tor. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Although it's so funny, I picked it because it had a really good, you know, timing. I was dropping off Stolen, and I just finished I'm Storm Magic, so it makes sense to pick up another book about witchcraft or witch. But I don't have room for it on my October TBR. But the fact that it's got a tarot connection, and like I saw this right away, I'm like, oh, it's the Ten of Swords, like, so it's very clear, you know. So that is, I'm always curious to see how tarot is represented in books and in TV and film, because it is often, very often, most often misrepresented. So I'm looking forward to seeing if they do use the cards in the book, to see how they represent it, if they correctly interpret things. And, you know, if almost always when someone uses tarot in a book, movie, or TV, they talk about the death card, and it's like, it's not a literal representation. Can be, but it's not generally a literal translation or representation. And like 90% of the time it shows up in pop culture that is someone does a reading and look, the death card shows up. So it's very rare that they show any other cards and they understand the significance or meaning of the reading as a whole, let alone just one card. Anyway, okay. PSA off. But if you cannot, it was not clear from that, I have and do read tarot cards and have for many years, so I get really frustrated with that. It's just like, that's the bias of knowledge, but it's also, you know, someone not doing the research or using a very easy writing device, in my opinion. So anyway, but didn't mean to go into a bit of lecture mode there. So I'm looking forward to this, but as I said, unfortunately, I don't have room for it probably on my October TBR, so it goes on the very large pile of books that I have picked up recently. But that's okay. There's no return date, right? It's a little free library. And yeah, so let me know. Have you read it? Have you read anything else by Rosemary Edgehill? She is a new to me author. I'm looking forward to checking it out at some point in the future, but mostly it was my reward for finishing my TBR, which I did, my second in the series TBR. I even got one bonus book in there, so I think it makes sense. Oh, I got a bonus book, so I should have taken an extra book, but I only brought one. I don't know. Let me know. Little free libraries, do you only, if you bring one book, do you only take one book? Or do you just think of it as just sort of leave as many as you want and take as many as you want? Within reason, like you wouldn't empty the whole thing, but if you saw two that were interesting and you normally go to them, would you take both of them? Let me know your thoughts. So yeah, so this week this vlog is almost at a close. I think I am going to come back and talk about something, or maybe I won't. Maybe this really is it, because we're in October and I read my books. Are we done? Maybe we're done. Oh my gosh, maybe we are done. I am going to do a reflection video this month. I really enjoyed doing my summer reflection video. And I did read a lot of books that weren't part of my Stacking the Series or my TBR, because, you know, the month is, you know, I don't know, because it was any month, because I don't always stick to my TBR. So yeah, so I am going to do a reflection video. I'll talk about other stuff. But I think we might be done. This might be it. Oh my gosh, it is October. It's October. I actually ended up reading 31 titles in September overall. I'll share that. But I'll leave the rest of the thoughts to my September reflection. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me, whether you just watched this vlog or if you watched all of them. It was quite an effort, so I really appreciated everyone who watched, and I hope you enjoyed them. I know sometimes I say the same thing more than once. It's hard. Editing is hard, and doing the editing was challenging, but I am glad that I stuck with it because it was a fun way to go through a project. And I think in future, if I do that, I would do it for a shorter period of time, or like a week or a weekend, or pick a project that is over a longer period of time and maybe come back and do clips and updates or something like that. So yeah, but doing weekly vlogs week after week after week was a lot. So anyone who does that, props to you, because it is a lot of work. And I have to do something. My phone is just making all of these noises, so I guess we're at the end. Thank you so much for watching, and I will go back to doing Friday reads after this throughout October. I know there's going to be lots of content in October with 31 Days of Horror, so if you don't like horror movies, just feel free to skip those videos or enjoy them if you like horror. And yeah, and so we're going to be back to TBRs, Friday reads, tags, and reflections, I think I'm trying not to do too many addition, like total between the two different kinds of videos, or two different streams of videos. But yeah, so I hope October will be a really awesome month as well. But yeah, so that's me signing off this vlog. Thank you. See you in the next video.